the
Thank you,
session
Ken.
here. Well done. Thank you, Max. So this is going to be a real opportunity for all of you to ask lots of questions about road safety auditing in general that we haven't covered. But I'm going to go through accreditation around Australia, New Zealand, and legal liability associated with road safety auditing. I'm going to be focusing on Victoria, South Australia, Northern Territory. I'm going to add Queensland in there. I'm actually just going to write it right in now, so because I think it's important. Look at that, live happening as we speak. And the reason I say that's important is it is only been about 6 months where we actually went and took our course up to Queensland to TMR and said, would you like us to run this course in Queensland? Well, it's pretty much when it went online, and they've endorsed our course, so it's very relevant to Queensland. Okay. So by the end of this module, it's just really knowing that some of the requirements of different jurisdictions for road safety audit or accreditation, who can do audits and the like, understanding the process for registering. In Victoria, South Australia, we will add Queensland into that, and I can point you at other ones as well. And identify some potential legal risks for road safety auditors or those procuring road safety audits. So I'm going to jump straight in on that one, and as we always say, write your questions in as we're going, or just pop your hand up. And also reminding you that we do have time, lots of time allocated to discuss your audits if you'd like. But legal liability issues, I'm going to just put a disclaimer here. I'm not a lawyer, and so if you have any concerns, you need to get your own legal advice. But what I will do is just tell you from my time in managing road safety auditing for a state government jurisdiction, and also doing audits and doing lots of different legal representation in one form or another, be that representing the road authority or as an expert witness. I've gathered up quite a few different bits and pieces. So I'll just give you some insights from that, and then we can have a discussion if you've got any interest. So let me just, there's really 2 slides here, and I've basically broken it down to it. When you become a road safety auditor, which will be very soon, what are some possible legal issues that you could face as an auditor? So the first one I've got there is what I call a client-focused road safety audit, and it's a big fear we have, especially at a jurisdictional level, is that. Well, let me give you a little hypothetical scenario. There's a massive hardware chain, entering into the Australian market, the biggest hardware chain ever, or maybe biggest sort of mega supermarket style chain, and they're opening up a few in Brisbane and Sydney to start with, and then they're going to take the rest of Australia, and they've got their development plans and the like, and they're accessing onto arterial road network, and the state road authority has a look at their plans and says, well, yeah, okay, it's all looking fine. What we need is, here's your planning permit conditions. You must undertake a road safety audit by an appropriate qualified road safety auditor, on the state register, and then satisfactorily respond to the recommendations. And so then the big chain, got to think of a name for them, ABC Superstore. The ABC Superstore chain person says, okay, let's find an auditor, and says, right, we need a road safety audit done. Here are the design, here's the design. And yeah, we're over budget already, so we can't spend any more money, and we don't want to see any recommendations that have any cost implications. Happy to do some signs and line changes, but nothing actually substantial. And remember, we've got another 1,000 of these coming around Australia. So, look after us, we'll look after you. Of course, you can see the problems there. So that's what we'd call a client-focused audit if you were to entertain that and, ease them in, not holding back recommendations and the like. Next one there, inadequate brief. So if you were provided an inadequate brief to be able to do your audit, and you didn't sort of request more or the like, that's a possible legal issue. I mean, a lot of the time you don't get enough in terms of what you would like, but maybe it hasn't been done. Maybe they don't have access to it, and so you've got to do the best job you can with the information. But you've asked, and they haven't been able to provide it, and so you make some assumptions and note those assumptions. Obviously, misleading your qualifications or experience, and that goes not just auditing, but that goes across most things. But if you were to say that you were a senior road safety auditor and you clearly were not, or say that you've been doing detailed designs for 20 years and you haven't, those sorts of things obviously put you out there. So not following the correct process. So not visiting the site during the daytime and the nighttime, if you are required to in your brief from the client. So not visiting the site, I think, is one that's becoming more and more of a danger as we get street view and other different things popping up. People can feel that they can just get it done. They get a good feel for it from that. We're still very much in a position where visiting the site is an integral, important part of a road safety audit. It's clearly put into the Austroads guide, and I think that you're leaving yourself out there if you're to entertain that. And then not following your own or your company's quality management processes, and just going through those correct steps. And then in the legal system, you basically become held to this reasonable assessment, this reasonable word, which is very hard to nail down exactly what it is. But I think that sort of, say, would your peers have picked these issues up and those sorts of things. And there's a few from the auditor's perspective. Let's have a look from the customer's perspective, or the road authority, or the person procuring the audit. So if you actually intentionally hold back information in the brief and that you're handing over, it's important for them to be able to do their task. That's a flag. Requesting particular recommendations. So that one comes up actually quite a bit, where they're doing the audit for one particular reason and they want one thing to be found, and they say, I want to see this in the audit. And you sort of, as an auditor, say, we'll just audit it, and if that happens to be one of the issues we find, we'll put it in there. But demanding an audit finding, saying you've got to write this or this must be in here, that's it's meant to be an independent process. And then it's really about getting that report, and what are you going to do with it? And if the report is some sort of tick box, it's put in a shelf, nothing's done with it, put in the project file, we did an audit, and nothing's actioned on any of those recommendations. That's a real smoking gun, as they'd call it, if something were to go wrong. So you really have to, with all those recommendations, either accept it, reject it, or defer it. And you are well within your right to do any of those. You just need to sort of justify that. The courts are very understanding of lack of resources, lack of funding, right? They know that, like, a council does not have unlimited funds, so they can't do everything that everybody suggested. But what they're not sort of understanding of is a very ad hoc process, or issues that aren't looked at and risk assessed And it goes to the next one, means of prioritization. Like if you're randomly picking, recommendations that will be done and not being done, and likewise, if you're randomly picking projects that will get road safety audits done and won't, there's no clear process to that, there's some potential legal issues. And that's probably one from a road authority perspective that I was quite heavily involved in. And we did, as a road authority, the Victorian Road Authority, many years back, get a massive slap from the coroner, and we probably deserved it. We certainly did deserve it, because we were very clear in our policies as to when we should do road safety audits for our projects, so government projects, which ones will be audited, which ones won't be audited. We had a clear policy process on that, so that was all very clear. And we had then no real information for the developers. So we get all these planning permit applications, and it would be ad hoc as to which ones our statutory planners would decide to put a condition that an audit should be done or an audit should not be done. It wasn't clear. That process wasn't clear. And there was a fatality in one of our regions at a fairly new development that had been opened, and the coroner was saying, well, where was the road safety audit that was undertaken? There was no road safety audit undertaken, and so it's pretty horrific that that lack of process there potentially cost somebody their life. There were some infrastructure deficiencies. And so this is my word of sort of warning then to others, especially local governments. I'm finding local governments are very ad hoc in their auditing. No, there may be one officer has been to this course and they're gung-ho on audits, and then the officer that sits next to them is not, and so their projects don't get audited. These ones get. It's not a consistent process. So what I recommend at local government level is that you just get together, write a road safety audit policy. You just get out to anybody managing infrastructure, and they know it can be clearly, we will audit these projects under these conditions. Then you cover, as long as you're following that. And to make your life easier, in our last update of the Austroads Guide to Road Safety Part 6, we decided to put in a template road safety audit policy, so people can just grab it, take it, copy it, add their council name in or their authority name in, and you've got a policy right there. I think it's a really worthwhile exercise. And again, of course, a road authority is held to a reasonable process as well in terms of what they're expected to be doing. I suppose I'll take any questions or comments on that at this stage, Max. Feel free to put your hand up, anybody, if you'd like to, if you want to have a chat about any of these.
We've had some questions come through. I think everything's going okay, though. I think being struck off. Carl, has anyone been struck off the register for doing dodgy or amoral RSAs?
Yeah, so it's a very good question. The answer is not that I am aware of. So something may have happened. In the Victorian government, we had struck a few companies off pre-qualification. It's very hard to prove the dodginess. I did a review of, I think, 200 audits done by consultants and individuals, and I couldn't find any evidence of what I thought was actual dodginess. I found evidence of incompetence, that you've got to question some competency and some understanding in a few areas, but I don't think they were actively being mischievous or corrupt in that sense. But it's a fear, and it's probably one of those murky sliding slopes that people find themselves in sometimes. But let's talk about the registers and the accreditation and what it actually means to be on that and what is being assessed and the like. And it may give some more insights into probably why people haven't been taken off registers as such. So, just to try to make your life a little bit easier, what I did was got all of the jurisdictions, so Victoria, Queensland, South Australia, New Zealand, New South Wales, and I've listed them all, and I've put what their requirements are for their accreditation in a big table. I'll put that into your memory stick and on Schooling. I've got 3 of them up there. I'll talk briefly through some of the others, but Victoria, Queensland, South Australia have road safety auditors and senior road safety auditors, and they require you to have some experience in or be working in the fields of road design, traffic engineering, road construction, traffic transport management, road safety engineering, crash investigation, behavioural science, related road safety discipline, road user behaviour. And it's not necessarily all of them. Some of them want different ones. And you can see there the Victoria's got a few tick that they want to see that you're at least in the field, working generally in this industry. And to become a road safety auditor, you just need to prove that you do work in one of these fields. You don't need to have years of experience. To become a senior auditor, you need to show at least 5 years experience in those categories. And you need to have undertaken 5 road safety audits, 3 at design stage, and participate in at least 1 audit per year to retain that status. Behavioural science, please explain. Excellent question. That is like human factors, human factors is the best way I can explain it. How people perceive issues on the road, what sort of things that are they going to do, how they're going to behave on the roads. You see Queensland, there's very similar to Victoria, except for they need you to have at least 5 years experience before you even get into the game as a road safety auditor, and some other requirements there. And South Australia is pretty much identical to Victoria, except for they're slightly different on what they require. But I'll show you this in a little more detail for Victoria, and I'm going to concentrate on Victoria because, and I'll tell you why, Victoria and Queensland probably on par. No, Victoria is the easiest one to get onto the register as a road safety auditor because you don't need that 5 years experience. So a lot of people get onto the Victorian register. Now, Victoria made a very conscious decision to make it easy to get onto the register as a road safety auditor because the mission was to get as many people out there thinking about auditing, thinking about road safety. We also wanted to make sure there was a good amount of them available for projects to help to keep costs down. Western Australia, on the other hand, went absolutely the other end of the scale, and they went so hard on requirements. I mean, you've got to do this massive online course, which makes this one look, like nothing. I mean, it's huge, and then you have to do, I think, every 6 months you've got another course to do, CDP requirements. You've got a year with a mentor auditor, and you've got to do. There's a raft of other requirements. It's really, really onerous. What has ended up happening in Western Australia is that they have this small core of amazingly qualified, really great auditors. But oh my God, it costs a bomb to do an audit over there, and they and the time taken, because these auditors are so in demand, and so I think they have sort of practical problems. They have excellent auditors. I used to be on their register. I've fallen off their register because I haven't been able to keep up to all of the CDP requirements, which are just ongoing. But I used to get called saying, "Oh, can you come to Perth?" This is from Melbourne, to do an audit. We've done a local roundabout. Are you kidding me? You want me to fly me to Perth to do an audit of a local? And they go, "Yeah, well, the only other option is a 2-month wait on an audit from another registered auditor." This is insane. Anyway, that's an aside. So Victoria is quite easy to get in on, and let's have a look at Victoria's. So you've got road safety auditor, senior road safety auditor. I could swap the photos around. It's got nothing to do with age. Well, it's got to do with experience. So I suppose you have to be a certain age to have some experience. But anyway, the point being, what do you have to do to get on this register? Well, you've got to do a course. You've got to do this course or an equivalent approved course by the local jurisdiction. And then you have to have, and quote here, some experience in road safety engineering, road design, traffic management, or road user behaviour. And having seen where you've all, you've registered, we've seen some of your bios, we know who you are by now, you all meet this category. Tick, you're in. This is, I suppose, trying to stop like a bartender turning up. But mind you, we've now, with the online course and the assignments and having to do things, we actually have competency checks built in. It used to be the course in person is you could come and sit and sleep for the course and you would end up with your certificate, there was no competency check, but now we have that, so that's good. To get up to that senior auditor level, you need to obviously have done the course and you need to have 5 years experience in one of those areas or multiple ones of those areas. You need to undertake 5 road safety audits under the guidance of a senior road safety auditor. And in Victoria, we use this website, vrsa.com.au. www stands for Victorian Road Safety Auditors.com.au, vrsa.com.au. A little fun story about this website. I, in Vic Road, set this up about 12, 13 years ago or something like that, maybe a little longer. And I did it off the Vic Road system, the, .gov.au, roads.vic.gov.au system, because I just refused to go through the process they were asking. It was just going to be insane. It would take years and all these requirements and things like that. So I just engaged a company to build me an off the platform website, and hey, here we go. 15 years later, still running strong and beautifully, and everybody's happy with it. So did I get in trouble? Oh my God, yes. I was in a lot of trouble, but hey, we got an outcome. So the first thing you see is a disclaimer, and the disclaimer says, we've got a big list of road safety auditors in here. We can't guarantee any are any good. We just guarantee that they have done an approved course and that they've given us a CV that shows that they've got that experience, right? You work out whether they're any good or not. You go agree and continue. Okay. So then we get to this page and you've got lots of options there. And the first thing you're probably going to do is register for auditor accreditation. And you're going to click on that one and it's going to take you there, and you can register as a road safety auditor or a senior road safety auditor. Now, the only reason you might want to register for senior auditor if you happen to be an auditor in another jurisdiction or you've been auditing for a while or something like that. But I dare say most of you are going to register as road safety auditors. And you're going to click start and you're going to fill out some information here. Your name, your organisation, and over here you can see you can hide anything you want from the public. If you don't want the public to see your email address, you can hide that. No worries. Okay, and so you fill out that information. Down the track, you'll be able to go back log in and add information and change things as you want. And I'll show you a couple of other bits and pieces of the register. But you'll fill that out. You'll upload an electronic copy of the certificate. And so you do all of that at vrsa.com.au. When you, the public can search for a road safety audit as well. So people can come in here, they can search for it and click that. And then what they're faced with is this: the auditor search. They can search by name, by organization. They can search by required expertise. Okay. Feasibility, functional, detailed, pre-opening, existing roads, different, types of roads. You could ask for a motorcycle detailed design. I'm very interested in that. Someone with expertise. Take that with a grain of salt, though. That is self-populated. That's, people say that they're those expertise, and so you take it all with a grain of salt. Anyway, then you sort of scroll down and you see the massive list of auditors, and it's wonderful. We're seeing lots and lots of auditors on there, and I love it. Lots of people who are thinking about safety and available to help out. So I'll click on myself to show you a few things here. So what the public can see. They can see status active, senior road safety auditor, contact details there. You put a little bit of a CV in. Of course, you don't need the public to see this, but this is how people know you're working in the industry. So there's a bit of CV information. Road safety auditor expertise. Okay, there I've been auditing for a very long time, yet I'm still not prepared to put worksite traffic management plans as expertise. I've done audits in that space, and I always get one of my colleagues along in the team who love the worksite traffic management plans. But that's the sort of thing that people will see. Regions available to audit, they're just Victorian regions. If people just wanted to say, I only really want to audit in the east of the state, then you can do that. And then this is all people see in terms of past audits, right? I haven't updated this slide for a very long time, but they see the location. So this was at Phillip Island. I was the senior road safety auditor team leader of that audit team. That was a date that was undertaken. The client was Vic Roads. It was a feasibility bicycle audit. I remember that one. That was the shared path between Anderson Roundabout and San Remo, and it was at the early stages of trying to work out which alignment and where it should go, and how it should cross roads and those sorts of things. So we got out there and stood in a paddock for a while. Good fun. And so that's all people are going to see. Behind this, there's a little bit more information, but you don't actually upload your audit report. Okay. What you do is you upload a contact person and their contact details, who is the client. So in this case, it would have been somebody from Vic Roads, from Eastern Region, who is the client. And should somebody want to audit the auditors, they would then contact that person. They would say, it can do an audit. Can you send me a copy of it? Or maybe they'll just check, yep, the audit was actually done. Were you happy with it? Yeah, okay, thank you. And you can see people's certificate of which course they did and when. So that's how to register in Victoria, vrsa.com.au. The South Australians, they went the tough road of actually putting it on the .sa.gov.au website. Theirs is not quite as advanced as the Victorian one, in the sense that it's a Word document you download and you fill it out and you email it to them, and then they have a PDF that they periodically update and put back on here. And so you download the PDF, it gives you the list. And I think Max will be able to show you that shortly. So that's the South Australians. Queensland's followed due process as per usual, and has sort of done both to a degree. on the TMR platform and lists the people in there. Doesn't give you any more information about the auditors apart from their email address, their phone number, and their organisation name and organisation. But there's a bit of a list there. So I think, Max, you'll probably show us some of these shortly. I'll just show this. The South Australians call it pre-qualification. Everybody else seems to call it accreditation, and they reserve the term pre-qualification for a company in terms of do they have insurance, do they have quality management system, do they have all of those things we like. But the South Australians call a whole lot of things pre-qual. And so they've got there's where you click and you download your application form. They have it in the same thing as heavy vehicle route assessors, different to road safety auditors. So you're not on that register. You got to do the course that, tells you to make sure that the bridge is structurally adequate for the large vehicles and those sorts of things, which is not really part of a road safety audit. There's more detail in it than that. But you can get the view the register there. The rsa.com.au, get on it, get yourself registered, add it to your CV, registered an accredited road safety auditor. Max.
Thank you, Ken. Did you want me to go through the RSA one? I know you covered that one pretty well. I've got it up, but...
yeah, I think we did that one well enough.
Yeah.
Let's just do the others.
No worries. So this is the South Australia DPTI. It's just under contractor documents pre-qualification, as Ken mentioned it. Updated a little bit since those slides was.
Random fact there, Max.
Ooh.
They're not DIPTI anymore. They're DIT.
Ah.
Yeah.
They haven't updated their
infrastructure and transport.
Yeah, there you go. They haven't updated
Do I get a
their
prize?
little... I don't see why not. It's that kind of day.
Sorry, carry on. Pre-qualification for infrastructure and transport?
All the way down, unless you want to register for some other pavement works or anything like that. But all the way down to the bottom, you'll see pre-qualification of road safety, safe system assessment auditors and restricted access vehicle assessors. Interestingly, they only have the application for senior road safety auditor pre-qualification, which comes in a form, which I can click on, and it will just open up a Word document. And this is something that needs to be filled in and returned to DIT, that it is called now. But as I mentioned, this is only for senior road safety auditors. So it's a little bit confusing as to how a road safety auditor gets their accreditation. Ken, I'm not sure if you could expand on that for South Australia, or just recommend going through Vic.
Just go through the Victorian one. But
yeah,
it's odd because I've asked them on multiple occasions. They say, "Oh yeah, no, you can be a road safety auditor in South Australia." So what I do is, if you really desperately want to be a road safety auditor in South Australia, is just fill out the senior form, but just say applying to become a road safety auditor. You're not going to appear on any website or anything like that. They may send you a letter to say, "Well done. Now you have to audit with a senior road safety auditor anyway."
Hmm. So yeah, that's a good approach if you fill that one in and click on the register there to submit that. Sorry, this is where all the senior road safety auditors are, and there's no actual road safety auditors on this sheet as far as I'm aware. So these are all senior road safety auditors. So you won't appear up on that list straight away. You'll have to wait until you reach senior accreditation, which is not quite the way that we do it in Vic. Or in TMR.
Yep. Show us the TMR one.
TMR, so this is safety /road safety /road safety auditors. Much easier, this one. Just click on the link which says forms, road safety auditor, senior road safety auditor registration application. This will open up a PDF. PDF is just about giving all your details. Which course did you attend, and a certificate to prove that you attended that course, and then just some details of different audits that you may have completed if you were going for the senior road safety auditor, but most people will probably just be going for the road safety auditor. fill that in, you send it back to them, and then you should be up on their website, which is all just displayed on the page here. So it's all given on these handy lists. So you can see all the list of auditors and senior road safety auditors. So you can check it all off there. And they also have a separate form there for your maintenance as well. So having to prove that you've been continually doing road safety auditors and you're not road safety audits and you're not becoming rusty, or you've stepped out of the game or anything like that. You need to prove that you've maintained those skills. So they've got that application form there for those within Queensland.
Yeah, no, that's right. And yeah, that's right. The senior auditors are under the road safety auditors there in the big list. Question from Carl. After 5 audits, do you apply again for senior status? The answer is yes. It's not automatically going to do anything. None of the registers are that sophisticated to actually identify. It's up to you to reapply and show that. So.
And Chantal's just asked, so submit the form to the relevant authority to be qualified through them. Anyone? Yep, that's basically the point of call. I'm not sure which jurisdiction you're from, Chantal, but if you are from SA, then have a go at sending it with the senior road safety auditor form and see what they come back with. Otherwise, we recommend just going through Vic Roads. It's a bit more straightforward.
Yep. Now, there's a few. So Western Australia, just completely on their own. New South Wales, a bit on their own in some weird ways. New Zealand does not maintain a register of auditors. They simply say, just make sure you've done a relevant course. And that's all they really care about. And then they just use their own in judgment at an individual basis as to who they want to get their audits done by. So there's no specific register. Tasmania uses Victoria's register. Northern Territory uses anybody's register. They say, we'll take anyone's, as long as you're registered somewhere. On the world stage, there's a few different things going on. There's some different countries have different systems. The World Bank and the Asian Development Bank will accept Victoria's register. I know that. I don't know how they'd go with other states. I'm sure they probably would. Anything out of Australia, they'd generally be pretty happy with. I know IRAP, the International Road Assessment Program, are looking at the moment into the potential for a road safety auditor accreditation if you meet some specific requirements and understanding the IRAP methodology, but also have completed an audit course they approve, and this is one of those as well. So lots of different things. And I should say that road safety auditing is becoming pretty much worldwide now. So this now gives you a foundation to be able to take this to other countries if you like, if we're ever allowed to go into another country, and you can, really help inject road safety into projects there and save, thousands of lives really with just good road safety engineering practices.
A few curly questions I might pull over to you, if that's okay. Okay. Yeah. I've got one from Carl asking, if you're registered in Queensland, can you potentially head down south to Vic to complete a job down there, or do you need to register on the Vic RSA accreditation first? Yeah,
so you've got to be on the register of the jurisdiction that you're undertaking the road safety audit in. So if you get asked to go to Victoria, you've got to be on that Victorian register. Now, something else I can say about. Is there mutual recognition? It's a process. Yes, to a degree, but yeah, I think if you are on the Queensland register, you will have no problem getting on the Victorian register. The other way around, I think you should be generally okay, except for if you don't have 5 years experience. then you'd be in trouble there. There was something else I wanted to talk about. Austroads is currently doing some work. There's a project out at the moment to try to harmonise this, a bit like traffic controllers and things, where you have to traffic control a ticket, and you're trying to work in Albury, and then you wanted to work in Wodonga, and you needed a whole other ticket and do another course and do all of this sort of stuff. So they're trying to get harmonisation there, and they're trying to start looking at the same with auditing. But for now, anybody anywhere in the country can get onto the Victorian register, no worries, and you can go from there.
And thanks. Came one from Eng just asking if there's any specific insurances or professional indemnity requirements becoming an auditor.
So there's not to get on the registers and everything like that. But if you wanted to be pre-qualified with like the State Road Authority, in fact, all state road authorities are going to have similar requirements. They will require you to have insurance, and most people engaging you would be checking that you have insurance if they're going to pay you to do a job for them. But as to say that you are a registered auditor, and then like if you work for a local council and you're doing a road safety audit of a local council facility, and I mentioned that, we say that that's okay. Like a local council officer can do an existing conditions audit of a local council street or something like that. Of course, your professional indemnity is covered under your local government because that's who you're working under. If you're in an organisation that does road safety audits, yes, I would advise you have professional indemnity, public liability insurance, of course.
Another good question there is typing up. I might let you explain about if you're able to conduct an RSA that is within your own organisation, Ken.
Yeah, really good question as well. I'm glad it came up. So this one is curling. And okay, so let me give you a bit of background on this. Okay, so the absolute requirement of an audit, and it is very clear everywhere, is independence. But there's not great definitions of what is meant by independent. So there's two aspects, though, that we're trying to ensure the independence of. One being the idea that you can't proofread your own work, you can't review your own design because you're too close to it, you miss things, and that sort of stuff. The second one is independent from influence, okay? And this is the one which causes more concern for a lot of people, especially in the large consultancies, or I shouldn't just say large consultancies, but also others where the designer, in the floor below you, or down the other end of the office, does the design, and you're the auditor, and you're asked to do the audit because you haven't been involved in the design, so independent. And this one gets a lot of discussion and head scratching, and really it's just going to have to play out when somebody gets sued. And my take on it is that it's just easy to prove they're not independent. They've got the same boss, or the same boss's boss, right? And the project, they're going to have an influence on that, be it obvious, material, or be it just in the way that, there's a culture of us delivering projects on time, on budget, and that design is running a little bit late. We don't want to do anything that causes, an upset. I would imagine it as a field day for a prosecuting lawyer. Now, that being said, others can argue that, they have professional integrity, and they are not, going to be influenced by these things. you know, they've signed up to the ethical code of conduct under their Engineers Australia or Professionals Australia or these sorts of things. So, you know, it'd be interesting to play out. But I mean, it's pretty obvious in my mind that you get a completely independent body to do the auditing. You know, if you're an ABC I used ABC before, didn't I? If you're a DEF multinational engineers and the audit, you know, the design of the new motorway is done by them and the independent audit is also done by them, it doesn't look very good. Doesn't pass the pub test or the Courier Mail test or the Herald Sun test or whatever test you want to put it under. So my suggestion is, if you're procuring road safety audits, just make it clear to say, you know, this must be, the audits must be undertaken by an independent body away from the design firm or something like that. And if you're in a design, you know, firm, you know, you can. There's plenty of other audits can be done. You could link up with DEF, HIJ international engineers and do some auditing of theirs, and they can audit yours. And that's another one I often talk to with local governments, is to say, you know, like audits, they don't cost a huge amount, but sometimes it's a burden on local governments for one reason or another. I'll say, have a chat to your neighbouring local government. See if any of them have done the audit course and are interested in doing audits. And then say, how about we audit some of your designs and you audit some of our designs, and then you get a nice little, you know, little system going there and save everybody some money. As I say, I don't think audits are in the scheme of things expensive. I see a hell of a lot more money wasted on other things. But anyway. Okay, other questions?
Susan just expanded on that point, just asking more in relation to the construction space auditing, worksite safety, traffic management. So I read that as perhaps you're not an expert within that field, and if you're able to conduct an RSA, what's the dollar?
Sorry, I'm not sure I quite follow
this. I might follow up with that, Susan, offline, if that's okay.
So just remember, in the work site construction space, there's something that should be done internally every day, which is to check everything is, you know, all the bollards are in the right spacing and the signs. And that's just like an internal sort of auditing process. There's the actual full-blown road safety audit, which would be done by an independent, somebody clearly independent of the job. But you'd only do that, you know, before the job and maybe throughout. So it gets a bit murky. I think this will get clarified a lot better in the next round of Australia's Guide to Road Safety audit. There generally is seen a little bit more lenience around worksite traffic management because of the way audits seem to play out as that spot check often. I don't think it's particularly right, but there is a bit more sort of quicker, more audits happening very quickly. So keep an eye on this space. It's a little bit unclear at the moment. You're certainly a step up having undertaken and be a registered road safety auditor, so you're in a much better position there than just going through it. What do we got here? What's a reasonable time frame to undertake a road safety audit? So obviously it depends on the scope. If you've got a small sort of roundabout design at a concept level, be a fairly quick exercise. If you've got, you know, 10 kilometres of duplication, detailed design, it's going to be many weeks of auditing. But in general, I mean, a sort of 2-week turnaround seems to be generally about right for most projects, which gives you time to get your act together, get the team together, organise a site visit, time to review the plans, and give it genuine consideration throughout things, have a discussion, write up a report, get it reviewed, put your photos in and everything like that, and get it off. So yeah, sort of that 2 weeks seems to be the industry benchmark on turnaround of an audit. Obviously, that reprioritizing things seems to be able to, some people can bring it down to a week sometimes, but if it's a bigger project, it can push out. Does every road safety audit require a senior road safety auditor? The answer is yes. Yeah, so that's pretty much, it's a requirement. And yeah, I'm just trying to think if there's any jurisdiction that doesn't require that. I suppose New Zealand is your only one that wouldn't require that because they don't have any levels or registers. But yeah, we'll have to find a senior auditor to work with on the first 5 at least. All right, that's good stuff. Now, I should have reminded people at the start, but you would have seen in the agenda that this is an hour and a half session at the end. We do block 2 hours out in your calendar, I think, just in case somebody has long, in-depth questions about their audit. But what I have left to do is some case studies, sort of brief case studies, and then that'll be pretty much it. So I will give a couple of minutes for a stretch and fill up water and those sorts of things. I'll come back. I'll just give you a few just light sort of example case studies, and then we'll wrap it up, giving you plenty of time to finish off any quizzes you've got outstanding, to really crack on with that audit, but also to ask any final questions or make comments. Max, is that all right? You happy with that?
Absolutely, go for it again.
Okay, let's take 3 minutes back at 5 past. Or, hang on, it depends where you are, but 3 minutes. Okay, just reading back on some of those wonderful questions and interaction going on there, Max. Well done.
I've got one as well for you, Ken. Actually, just popped into my mind then that I think would be worth sharing with everyone. But have you ever done an audit where you've had no findings?
It's the dream. It's the dream. I've done an audit where I put it to note only. The only thing was to note. I can't even remember what it was to note. And I kind of thought I put it there to prove that I had kind of looked at things. And it was something I thought. This was with Jamie. And yeah, we were like, you know, there's nothing major here. There was something. It wasn't really road safety related. So it just got to note, not a risk. And yeah, but no, usually there's always something to find.
Maxuda's suggesting maybe the design was done by you, Ken. That's why it was nothing wrong with this.
Okay. I'm just going to show a few little quick examples, and then we'll leave a little bit of time at the end. I don't want to take up time if it's not required, but I think there's a few little learnings out of a few of these, and I've picked a couple of audit things. Max and I talked about the very not using that intolerable risk too often. I'll show you one though that I did whip that intolerable risk card out on. Okay, so here you go. You're driving along a road. It's a state-managed arterial road, and I should give you the background. They said, "Can you come and audit this fairly quickly? We've got some concerns," and this is out in sort of regional Victoria. So, you know, I was out there with my colleague. We got out. They're driving along the road here. See, it's 80 kilometres an hour. It's been 80 for quite a while, actually. You've got your barrier line there, so no overtaking. Let's drive a little bit further forward. Don't worry about the car. That was our old work car back in the day. We just parked well off the road there. So now we've got some overtaking. That's good. And we can see something off in the distance there, can't we? There's something down there. Looks like it could be an intersection or something. Okay, it's quite a way away. Got a bit of a speed sign covered up. It's probably another 80 there. Let's keep going forward. And yeah, okay. Nothing's changing too much there. Okay, we've got something coming up here. There's a yellow sign. There's some yellow signs in the distance. Probably some roadworks down there. Let's go a little bit further. Oh, hang on a second. What's going on here? That's a 60. Okay, it's a 60, and we've got some yellow sign there. And let's go up a little bit further forward. Oh, okay, something's going on here. Traffic hazard ahead. Thank you. And we'll look at that. And let's just go a little bit further forward and see what's going on there. Okay, we've got a traffic island. It's looking like it's having some issues, this traffic island. Let's jump back a little bit and have a look at this and ponder what's going on. So we stood out there for a while looking at this and trying to ponder and understand what's going on. Eventually dawned on us, but it took us a little second or two. But anyway, we came back at night as well. It worked out what was going on there. There it is at night. So it's a nice photo. Shows nothing. You drop back there. There is a street light up here. It doesn't work. So that's an interesting one. But it's not the lack of lighting that was, I mean, that was a contributing factor, but there's just some fundamental issue with this. In fact, I'll give a prize if somebody can quickly, have a guess at concisely putting their finger on what the issue is there. So Grace has popped into the street lighting, which is a good issue. To identify, it causes issues. There's something a bit more sort of fundamentally wrong going on here. Yes, we're seeing some good, they're good few of these.
Technical people online.
Yeah. I think Carl got it in it. So yes, the Carl got it there. So what we're seeing here is that it's the wrong way around. Let me show you here. This is what a sheltered right turn facility should look like. You should be getting a relatively straight run through there coming from that direction. You shift this one out that way. Now there's some you get a little bit, but the lateral shift on this one is just really intense there, right? And so we're pondering what the hell has happened here and what's going on altogether. Let's look back at that design. Yeah, okay. And you look at it for a while and you can see here that they've got the overtaking opportunity, if appropriate, opens up as you exit the facility, right? This one has you overtaking potentially on the approach to this. It's not good. No, it's not good at all. And finally, it sort of dawned on us that somebody's just sort of flipped the design. And why on earth would they do that? Well, pretty sure it's got some heavy services running up and down here. And if we go back, over here is a big subdivision. And of course, they don't want to move services. That sounds expensive. And so that somehow slipped through the net on an arterial road and been built that way. Now, I suppose I'll just leave it at that. It's one where we did give it intolerable risk and actually didn't wait that sort of 2 weeks to write up a nice, very nice flowing. We immediately sort of phoned through and said, okay, so do something immediately out here and we'll get you the report when we can, but something needs to be done. So it's an interesting one. It's the kind of thing you wouldn't expect to see, but you've got to be very aware as auditors that these sort of things can and still do happen, unfortunately. I'll jump on to another one. This one is nowhere near, like, definitely not intolerable risk. Don't know what the risk would be, but it's something that annoys me, and I scratch my head about it, which is the use of incorrect signage, but the use of regulatory speed signs in inappropriate locations. This sign's just wrong, by the way. Like, you don't use a red circle if you're ending the speed zone, right? You use a black circle. That's how it should look. But I mean, really, question I've got is, why do you even need to say that at this location? You're coming up to a T intersection. But what makes me more concerned are these ones where we see people putting a regulatory speed limit on a high-speed road on the approach to a point where you have to stop or give way. You don't have priority. The reason this is particularly concerning as an auditor is there's this subtle clue to a driver that if they see a speed sign, their road continues on. And so, in the fog or the dark or somebody's half asleep, they see that, it's not warning them that they're going to have to stop. It's actually doing the opposite. They won't be able to verbalize that. It's subconscious. But we really don't want speed signs on the approach to points where yielding is required or giving way or stopping is required. This one is an interesting one. So some local area traffic management undertaken by a council. And I think they did reasonably well. They're doing a wonderful job. I think they've got some issues with lighting and how it reflects. So that's how it looks at night. And they've got no street lighting over the things. And so, you know, there's the audit finding. This was earlier versions of audit findings before we put a few of those safe system energy and things in. But you can see, I suppose, how, like in this one, we're trying to write it up in a manner that's pretty clear what's going on, you know, there, that, and then even mocking up a little hazard marker for them. But the lighting was an issue there. But what I wanted to mention, though, with this one is another use for an existing conditions road safety audit or a pre-opening audit is actually as a stakeholder engagement tool. Again, I'm probably talking to local governments and state governments here, but if you have a particularly angry community group or the like about an issue, and you've given your opinion, you say, well, we don't believe this is an issue, or we believe this is an issue, and we're going to change, whatever it is. The independent auditor can be a wonderful tool to say, hey, well, this is not count. We've got this independent auditor to come in and look at it. And this was sort of what was happening in this situation. What I have seen done before is also that the council will say, well, you know, here's a list of our approved auditors. You can pick whichever one you want to the community. Obviously, they can have some cost challenges there, but, you know, really trying to empower the community to think that they're in, you know, making these calls. Anyway, that's an aside. Just another reminder about end terminals. End terminals are quite an important part of any barrier system. They can present hazards in their own right. And it's one I find where auditors really need to be on their game and up with the current latest thinking around end terminals to barriers. So if you've got a barrier job and you're not a barrier person or you're not up to speed, you have to get into your audit team somebody who knows what they're doing, or make sure you're seeking the right advice. So there's sort of your like trailing terminal. And this was an example of an audit. I won't read the details of it, but they've used a trailing terminal here, here, and here over this aqueduct. Now, of course, you've got a trailing terminal is not designed to be struck end on, but they've got it on the approach there. And also, this is an undivided road, no separating barrier. That one's still it's outside of the old clear zone, but it's very easily sort of on the outside of a curve that somebody could slide out there and hit that barrier system. So you've got to be aware of that. Interestingly, with this one, and my colleagues, a couple of my colleagues did this sort of report, but they put in here, it's interesting thing. So consider the use of a grate terminal. So grate is a Victorian term for gating redirective energy absorbing terminal on all barrier terminals. If the access point is constrained, consider moving the access point or measures to reduce the spearing potential. So the auditors have acknowledged the reason why they've sort of done this is that there's an access point here. So they're sort of trying to help out a little bit in that sense. But we don't want to see ramp down terminals. They are a vaulting hazard. So a vehicle will vault off that if struck. So that's a no-no. We don't want to see BCTAs and BCTBs anymore. They're the breakaway cable terminals. Again, they've got spearing hazards in them, and they have a lesser area that they're protecting. But you still, again, this is an audit, a post-opening audit not that long ago, when they're clearly not the product that we use, but they're out there. So again, as an auditor, you've got to be saying, yeah, you've used a product that doesn't meet standards. So this one actually has a standard associated with it. There's safer things that can be done. Certainly, this is not a safer thing to do, a fishtail. I'm pretty sure most of you know that. We see those a lot popping out in different countries. And here's a picture of why we tend to not want to do any of these things to end terminals, because they will spear a vehicle. You can see it. There you go. It's speared the vehicle, gone all the way through. Random little question for you. I've got a couple of minutes for trivia. See these things? They're we'd call them audio tactile edge line. Hang on, somebody asked me to go back to that one. It's scary stuff, isn't it? Anyway, we'd call that audio tactile edge line. In this country, they've been scouring it out of the road as little dig outs like that. Why do you think they might do that in this country? They actually call them mumble strips. We call them audio tactile edge line. The public calls them a rumble strip, which is not a rumble strip. A rumble strip goes over the traffic lane, but they call that a mumble strip as a thing. Why do you think they might dig them into the ground as opposed to have them as blobs on top, which we do? Yes, so Chantel's right. They're addressing fatigue crashes, absolutely. But why? What? Too hot? So Carl's on to a good line of thinking, correct line of thinking. It's not actually the heat in this one. So not wear and tear. Well, you're onto it with, oh, here we go. Amanda's getting close with ice, getting slippery. Let's run with that theme a little bit more. What do you do if you're in a country with snow and ice and those sorts of things? Well, aquaplaning is a good idea. Oh, yeah, I'll give it half a second if somebody can't see them through the snow. No, that's a good idea. It's not quite the reason. No. See, we're all from a country. We've never had to manage a road that gets snow all the time. But you've got to snow plow your roads, don't you? And anything that sits above the surface there just gets ripped off with a snow plow. This is in Colorado. I was over there doing a little bit of work at CDOT, and I said, well, how do you do like raised reflected pavement markers or anything like that? And they're like, oh yeah, we've got the snowplow friendly RRPMs. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, yeah, so barrier end terminal. So I went on off track. Yeah, so there's a closer generation to what we accept these days, and these aren't really quite good, but these are just a little bit old, so we still don't want to see the ET2000s and the X350s, and this is where we're at now with the ETSSs. That's the current terminal. I'm not expecting you to remember this. I'm just warning you. You've got to know these systems, and there's a couple of others that are accepted. Oh, I rushed along at the end there. I'm going to stop sharing there, and I want to say a couple of final words, and then just see if there's any comments. So, first of all, I want to thank everybody for taking time out of their very busy lives to have a bit of a think about road safety. It's such an important topic, and it's something that I just absolutely love the ability to utilize some of the engineering skills that we've developed over time to improve the health and safety of the community. So it's a really rewarding thing, and I'm glad that some of you have been in it for a while. Some of you are just entering into it. It's super rewarding, but it comes with a lot of challenges. We get a lot of pushback. We get a lot of perceptions of how things should be done, and so we've got to sort of keep fighting the good fight. But thank you so much for taking the time to do that. Road safety auditing is a wonderful tool, and utilize the fact that you are an auditor to have input on designs, challenge things that even if they meet the standard you're concerned about. That is what we've got to do, and you've got to speak up. And so the other thing is, as an auditor, I sort of always say that you've got an extra responsibility now. I know you were passionate road safety advocates beforehand, but you've got an extra responsibility now that you're in the sort of fraternity of road safety auditors, and we are eyes out there on the network all the time. So if you see something that you believe is in that high intolerable risk category, get in contact with that road authority, whoever's managing that road, alert them to the fact. Now, I wouldn't go doing it for every low and medium risk issue, because basically your whole life will be writing to road authorities and calling road authority, because there's so many issues out there. But let's at least get the eyes and ears out looking for those really high risk, intolerable risk level ones as we're going about our business, and then get involved in audits and we'll inject that into new projects or existing roads. So thank you very much. Of course, Max and I are always available if you want to ask us questions or see examples of things or get some advice. You've got our contact details. When you get your certificate, feel free to share that on social media, LinkedIn. We love to let people, it's good for you to let people know you're now a road safety auditor, or you can successfully completed the course. Love it if you tagged us into that so we can then share it on far and wide. So just at Safe System Solutions, and we should come up there on LinkedIn. I think that's the only platform we're on. So please do that. If you'd like, share maybe a photo of yourself out doing the audit with the certificate or something. It's a nice little post. But thank you to Max, working things behind the scenes, leaving it so I can just go and tell my stories about different things. So it's been wonderful. Really great group. Loved seeing and reading your assignments. And I think I'm excited to see what comes in with your audits. Remember, if you don't do so well and we ask you to do it again, you always have the option to organise a one-on-one meeting with Max or myself. We'll talk you through it. We'll help shape it. You need to get that 80% mark to get your certificate. The other things in Moodle there is, once you upload your assignment, you do need to fill out the feedback form before your certificate is released, and you get an electronic copy. And then a few weeks or a week or two later, you'll get a hard copy in the mail with any prizes you picked up along the way. Anything that I missed there, Max?
Oh.
Nope, you're on mute.
I'm so used to unmuting myself and hiding myself, so I was a bit the other way around. Anyway, no, I think you covered it perfectly. Just thanks to everyone for your wonderful comments. If you don't feel like we quite got the crux of the issue that you were populating in the messages, feel free to just shoot us an email and we'll get to the bottom of it, make sure that you feel that you've got that issue resolved. But it's been great having everyone commenting and seeing all the assignments coming through. So thanks very much for your participation and being so engaged in this course. And thank you to Ken for running a fantastic online edition of the Road Safety Auditor. So thank you, Ken.
Thanks, everybody, and keep in contact. We're here to help you through to completion of this course, and consider coming along to some of our other courses like the Safe System Assessment course, the barrier course, the cycling infrastructure course.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's the one Max runs. So, strap yourself in. All right, thanks, everybody.
Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.